there was like almost no conversation to speak with people about.
Wow.
Because when it came to entertainment and things you enjoy, it was like you were clueless what everyone else was into.
After coming to the US, that's when I learned about camping and tents.
Be it a lake, waterfall, beaches, just to enjoy the sound of water. And when it's summer, it's like the best place to go, just to refresh.
He gave me something and it kind of looked funny. I didn't know what it was. And he said, it's a sleeping bag. I'm like, what is a sleeping bag? Like, is it like a bag or what is it? Sleeping bag. Welcome back to Happily Ever Afters, another episode by the Raj family. Today's topic is a continuation on our interracial marriage and it is specified to recreation and entertainment.
Well, this is an exciting topic. What different activities or habits did we have in our different countries or families when it came to recreation? So what are some things, honey, that you and your family did for recreation growing up?
Mm-hmm. For recreation, we did not really get introduced to being so much in the nature or going on picnics, or we did go on picnics, but that was a very rare occasion and most of the times it was through school. But for us, more going to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
That was
because your town where you grew up and were born, it's Chennai, right?
Chennai,
so that's
yeah,
like
on the coast.
Yeah, coastal city type of.
Yeah, so that was our main recreation, and I don't know if there are other things that we did because we grew up in a lower middle class family. We didn't have that much money to do a whole lot of stuff, and most of them are not into hiking or what's it called? Staying in tents for like wilderness type of experience. I have not been at least around friends that are more into it. It is more of doing just fun stuff, playing around, and that was the main thing for our recreation.
Very nice. Definitely in our family, we tried growing up to like have family vacations. Once a year we would meet with some of my mom's sisters and cousins and then try to go either camping or to different of the beaches either in Uruguay or Brazil. Like that was a typical thing when I was really young. So it was like the yearly vacation with family and have so many beautiful memories just camping kind of with family and cooking on fires and things like that. Then later on, it wasn't necessarily yearly, but we always enjoyed camping with my family here and there. And that was always like a fun experience just to go out to explore rivers or whatever. So camping was a big thing. And for recreation per se, we always enjoyed nature. So we would go for walks, for hikes, just for time in, in
nature,
in lakes or rivers, kayaking or whatever we could kind of do. Not necessarily we had a big sport we would do in nature, but more like enjoy time together, doing things that were like easygoing. So recreation was a big, I wouldn't say a big part, but it was something we included in our life.
An intentional part of your life. Yeah.
How about later on for you? How was that like when you left India or?
Yeah, so for us growing up, we never camped. I didn't even know that people used to camp up until I watched on television about Bear Grylls and people like them. But I didn't know that camping. I was a city boy, so growing up in the city, you have no clue about any of those things. But then we have, like I have with my colleagues, I have gone on hikes. This is after after I started working and stuff, not in my school days, but after started work. And after coming to the US, that's when I learned about camping and tents, and I was like so confused. I remember there was this guy when I first came to the school. He gave me something, and it kind of looked funny. I didn't know what it was, and he said, "It's a sleeping bag." I'm like, "What is a sleeping bag? Like, is it like a bag or what is it? Sleeping bag?" And then he explained to me, "Oh, you will need this. It is coming up soon. You will need this, and you will need the sleeping bag." And then they explained to me what is the purpose of a sleeping bag, and it looked like a worm. So I was like, "Okay, well, he's giving me. I'll keep it." And sure enough, a few months later, when the new school year started, they took us on camping trip. It came in handy. That was my first time ever to camp. This is in 2014. And yeah, that was my
First experience.
first experience in camping or anything with nature related stuff. I mean, I have been to places or forests and done it more like a, how do I say it? More like a shorter vacation through office colleagues, but not necessarily experience that type of part where you're just in the tents, not worrying about anything. If you need water, you have to go and pump water somewhere. Those type of things.
It's fun. It's definitely an adventure, and depending how old you are, you feel more like it's nice. Other times it's like you really want your bed or your security. But yeah, for me later on, when I left my home, I went for a mission year in Colombia. Well, that was an adventure in itself. So I don't think we needed to go camping for that. I learned a lot of wild things while there. And then going back to, coming to college here in the United States, it was pretty busy, I think. But we did go with the work environment. Like, the team would go to like Virginia Beach, and anything that has water for me was like so like the best place to go for recreation, be it a lake, waterfall, beaches, just to enjoy the sound of water. And when it's summer, it's like the best place to go just to refresh. And so recreation happen maybe once or twice a year, something special. But then when I went to Europe, we lived in southern Austria for like 3 years, and all around is like mountains, hiking places, and lakes, and people really invest in recreation in Europe. At least that's what I realized while I was there, or observed. Like, people are swimmers. They swim across lakes. Like, for,
That's crazy.
you know, it can be like, I don't know, an hour long swimming one way or whatever. It's like, that's a sport. And you see huge lakes and people just crossing and swimming with their little hats, their glasses, and they just go, go, go. And I was like, wow. And they go during the vacations for the kids, the whole family, and spend the whole day at the lake.
Wow.
They just get super tan and just enjoy the outdoors like crazy. And you just see in the roads and the countryside, people jogging and walking all the time. And it's like a mindset of outdoors. There's no private property per se there that you cannot trespass, because you can have trails throughout properties, and that's just normal. It's not like here, you know, unless you're in a specific trail, it's like private property, private, no trespassing, no trespassing. And you're like, okay, if I'm in the country and there's no trail, then I walk in my property or I cannot go very far. There, it was very different. So even though we had like a lot to do, very busy with work and responsibility, people really invested in nature time, outdoors, just recreation, us renewing. And that's when I fell in love with recreation, I think, more than ever before in my life, was being there. The priority they put, even on busy schedules to take time for that.
Wow, wow. Well, in a way, I feel like I wished I could have had those experiences early on, but again, hey, better late than never, you know. So, yeah, those things has never happened at that time. Now, as you know, we go on hikes and camp with our friends, and all those things have happened. So now
And
it's a
with
different
your
story.
friends, you did travel a lot and explore a lot of places.
In the US?
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. That I have done. My Indian buddies, we've always traveled. Every year we made a pact that every year, at least once a year, we will go together somewhere. We started in 2017, going to Grand Canyon, Phoenix, Arizona, then different places. So yeah, that we have done, but and that has been our recreation too. So, either going to the cities or going to the countryside.
Just
We've done both,
exploring, traveling can be super recreational, like seeing
Yeah.
new places.
And how about entertainment? What entertainment have you grown up with? What type of entertainment did you have?
Well, my family was very different in many regards because my parents decided they never wanted to have a TV in our home. And at that time, when I was born in 1990, there were no computers with internet and all of that. So either you had a TV somehow connected or just your CDs, DVDs, like whatever. Well, actually, at that time was VHS, like the actual videos. And so we grew up allowed to watch certain things that were educational, that were somehow like nature, well, educational or biblical, and good morals or things like that. So we could watch generally once or twice a week, one thing. So that was it when it came to like electronics.
Wow.
We had no phone, we had no gaming, none of that. My mom was my parents were very strict not to be into like, I don't know the word, like video games. Nothing like that, because even though video games, I guess, started even with those big computers, people might have it in the home. We didn't. My parents were like, no, that's not really helpful. Go and play outside, go and do things. So as entertainment, I grew up loving to play like a store. So I loved to just entertain with my brother and friends. Like we will build a store, a pharmacy, a grocery store. Then we would have family. So we had our little dolls and things like that. So that was one thing. Love to play real life type of things. And with money and exchanging and in business, all of those things was like, I guess growing up, I didn't even realize I liked it so much, but yeah. Then another thing was crafts, or art. Both my brother and I loved that, so we would get into drawing or doing different crafts. We would get different books from the library and just learn how to draw, learn how to use leaves to make animals and decorations and cards. And so it was more all of that artistic type of thing. And then playing, and then outdoors. During summer was the pool. The whole day at the pool, just enjoying games there and everything, or get together with friends, go for bike rides, and just play whatever we invented outdoors. So it was mostly that, and then we had little homes growing up as kids, like a whole farm with little animals, little people, and then we made our whole world of a farm or a city in our living room or wherever. So those were the main entertainment, was like just playing together with someone and creating a whole storyline and just enjoying. So we were not big into sports, and we were not big into media or things like that. So that was our entertainment.
Wow. Wow. For us, for me, it was totally different. Maybe part of it might be similar. Like my brother and I, we would go out and play with our friends. And we used to live in an apartment. So in India, you always find the kids playing around in the roadside, in the apartments, everywhere you see kids playing around. So that was very part of our life. However, in terms of entertainment with television, or going to the cinemas, that was huge. That was huge. I think India is one of the one of the countries that produces most movies, if I'm not mistaken. So for us, you have some specific heroes, actors that you really love, and then there is a whole festival type of celebration happening for their movie when the first show. It's grandiose, and like you'll see hundreds and hundreds of people flocking there. So that was there. We did not have television for a few years because of lack of money, not because of a choice. Because of a lack of money, we didn't have television for a few years, but we were big time into watching movies, watching dramas, and music, all of that. We were into it big time. And after I came to high school, it was more of games. Now it was movies, drama, and then games. So my brother and I, we both started playing video games, and we got used to it a lot. And I don't know, somehow I lost interest in video games, and
That's maybe a good thing.
yeah, I do believe it probably is a good thing. And movies, it has reduced, and even if I watch, it is more of how do I say, it is more of something that is going to build me up. Yeah, more than just entertainment. So but that is how it was for us growing up, and it is like crazy level of movies and entertainment basically. So that is it.
Yeah, definitely a big difference between our ways of growing up with entertainment and recreation.
How about sports?
Well, as I mentioned, we didn't really were big into sports growing up. The biggest one that I guess we got into somehow was swimming, if that can be called a sport, because my mom was like big into, you got to learn to swim, and just for safety reasons, and then just it's a good thing to know. So she put us into a few lessons. I did 6 different lessons and different places we were. I studied at a known university in Michigan that is called Andrews University. I studied there swimming lessons.
Wow. Wow.
So that was when I was like 9 years old or so. So I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed water, as I said, and I enjoy swimming and just learning different tricks. I was not into big tricks, just tricks to swim, but not necessarily. I didn't like to go under and then turn, because I was like, what if I don't have enough time and I cannot breathe? So I was always scared, or jumping from really high and putting my head first. I was kind of stiff when it came to doing tricks, but I like to know techniques for swimming, just fast or in my back or just stay in one place, and all of those things were wonderful. So I think that was the biggest sport we actually got into some classes and training. The rest, we were not really into our Argentinians' passion, which is we call it football, but soccer, if you say in English, I guess. But that
football also is English. It's just the Americans have a different.
Yes, so it's Argentinian football. So you just use your legs, and that one we were not really into it. My dad, my grandfather, which was from Argentina, none of them as guys were into that. So my brother either. And they were kind of horrible at it anyways because we were not into it. And I liked a little bit volleyball when I had the opportunity to do so, I guess, or like badminton, some of those type of things. So I enjoyed certain sports that were like not necessarily competing, but just enjoying with others, exercising together, and just having fun, you know? So it had a minimal role in our life, but when it was, my parents were also like not into the competitive spirit, like don't be angry with each other. So we generally just played more as for fun, not for winning or something.
Yeah. Even there, it's a little different. When I was in my high school, I played, there is something called as kabaddi. Not a lot of people would know outside of India. It is one of the famous games in India. And of course, cricket as well. We cannot live without cricket. But interestingly, I was never so crazy about cricket. I was more crazy about football or soccer. I was very interested in it, and that's why I also shared like how I loved Messi, and for me also more than watching, I loved playing. It was not so much of going crazy watching it and who's going to win, but it was more of playing it. And yes, it is competitive for me growing up. And that is how it was for me. And in high school, I went up to zonal level in playing kabaddi, but of course we didn't have enough training to do because my school was more focused on education, not on sports. So I didn't go past that. But I also like badminton. My brother and I would always play badminton back in India. And then after coming to the US, I started playing tennis. A couple of my friends introduced me to it. And I mean, not introduced me to it. I was introduced already. I've never played it. Because my grandfather, my grandmother, they all loved tennis. My grandfather especially. And so they were into tennis and cricket. I nor my brother were into cricket. We were more into tennis and badminton. So I used to watch a lot of tennis. After coming to the US, it was really nice to, after maybe 10-20 years of hopes in playing tennis, I got to play tennis finally. So it was fun. It was fun to play tennis after dreaming for years or even decades.
Another thing that I think would go kind of into entertainment or as like listening to the news, radio, TV, like how was that for you in your home? Were you guys big into it? Not so much?
My mom and my brother were. I was not. I guess I was more focused on entertainment only more than getting knowledge out of it, because my mom, she used to buy newspapers and she would watch news. She was an attorney, so she wanted to keep up with everything, so she would do all of those, and my brother would take up after her. So he would also read newspaper and watch news. For me, neither were attractive. I was more into entertainment. If you could ask me at that time, if you could ask me what movie is this dialogue from, I would be able to tell you immediately. Even now my brother would tease me saying, Martin, you still have those things in your memory. Because I have watched it several times. It's not like one time I watch it and it registers.
You kind of memorize that.
Yeah, there were a few movies that I would watch almost every single day for months.
Well, you're different. After I would watch one like movie or something, then at least, months or years have to pass by before I feel like I want to watch it again. But in that, we're very different. You see something, you want to see it again, and you dissect it. You try to learn everything from it. For me, it's like, unless it's a super complicated subject that I'm really needing to analyze, it's like, I don't need to see it again because the main things are there, so it's not fun anymore. But you are super detailed in observing and you don't want to miss a thing.
Yes.
I'm more like aloof to certain things and I'm fine with like the core thing and that's it. But
Yeah. So, with this being my background and that being your background, coming into a relationship together, how do you see it has impacted or not impacted? What are your thoughts about it?
can I just ask one more thing
Yes.
before we move to that
Sure, sure,
question?
sure, sure.
So I think there's one more area that falls into entertainment and it's music.
Okay.
So how was music, either traditional Indian music or religious music? Like what was the importance or the kind of things you grew up with or were part of your life?
I think it was a mixture of everything. Indian traditional music, because movies, movies have a lot of impact. Because Indian movies got influenced by Hollywood movies, right? Hollywood movies at that time, they used to have songs in their movies most of the times. Not most of all, in almost
more
every movie.
musicals.
Yeah, it's more musical and then a little bit of conversation. That we adapted. But then soon, if you see 2-3 decades later, the music part has reduced, like singing and all of that has reduced. And now you don't find any song in movies unless it is a artist that has already sung and then they just add it to their movie. In India, they have maintained the same thing that they adapted originally from Hollywood.
Oh.
So every movie has at least 1 to 2 songs in it.
That are original for that.
That is original for that specific movie. So therefore, I would listen to music as well, English, Tamil, Telugu, and there were Christian songs as well. I used to listen to Christian songs as well. I don't know if you know Don Moeen, different people basically, and that is why I know you didn't like Michael Jackson. You shared that with me when we were still in the relationship. And then I shared with my brother, David doesn't like Michael Jackson. And he was like, oh no, that's going to be a huge hindrance for you.
Because it used to be like one of your favorites.
Yeah, because he used to listen to Michael Jackson and I would follow him up, obviously. And we both were big time fans. But this is more like a fun thing he was saying, just making a joke out of it, that the music is going to make a life decision. So I've never sung in choir, and so I would have loved to, but again, no. I don't know. I guess I was timid. I don't know. I don't want to blame everything on our poor financial status. I guess I was not into it, but though I really loved singing as well.
So in college time, you did join.
Yes. In college, everyone had to go through 1 year of singing. I was so nervous when the teacher asked me to just follow her. I was so nervous and scared. And it was not even to grade me. It is just to know where my voice was so that she can assign me there. Man.
Yeah, it can be a scary moment.
Especially for someone that has nothing to do with professional singing, or being part of a choir. So it took a while for me. But then once I started learning to sing and all of that, I really enjoy, even now. But anyway, go ahead. How about for you growing up with music?
Well, definitely music was a big part in our family because my grandfather, from my mom's side especially, but from both my mom and my dad, they were big into like music should be part of education. Music as in learning an instrument, learning to sing, basics, not necessarily professionally, but just basics. And so since I was 6, I started piano lessons. My mom played the piano always at church. My dad had played the trumpet in like college band. And my grandfather was a violinist,
Yeah.
and then my grandma, his wife, a pianist. And so we all, from both sides, my mom and dad, there was a huge interest for music, and that was part of our education since young. Like, you start primary school, you start your instrument. So that was that. We listened to a lot of classical music. That was all the influence. Both sides, actually. My mom and my dad loved different kinds, but classical music and Christian instrumental and choir and anything that it had to do with like Christian music, inspirational music, and classical music was big time in my family. I never liked music that was too intense, even classical. Like, even Beethoven was hard for me because it's like dun 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 dun. Like, both hands move a lot, and others were ta da 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 ta da da da, and so very dramatic. And so I was like, it's a little too much. Like, I prefer music that was more like relaxing, and maybe I had a little bit melancholic in me, so I like more music that would make me think and relax. That was my kind of music. So I always like instrumental, flute, harp, piano, guitar, like anything that was like that. And definitely growing up, we didn't really listen to secular music just because of my parents' decisions in many areas. When it came to entertainment, we just stick to certain things only, and we're not really exposed. So, and then we were homeschooled, so we would have education at home. And everyone talks about movies and music. That was like the conversation of any young people outside of our home. And it was like, I don't know this movie. I don't know that song. I don't know that, So it was kind of like talking another language with your own peers because that's all they could talk about. And it's like, that's not our world altogether. So that was different. But in a way, I'm glad because I don't think I missed anything important.
True.
Out of
true.
it, just... we had other things. We would, know about the world, traveling, geography, nature, the human body, health, and just life. So it was just different.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it's very true. You didn't miss out on anything. One that used to be in it and now out of it, I can tell you, you're not missing out on anything. Yeah, it might feel like you're out of place when there is a group of people talking about that, but that's pretty much the extent of it. It's not like you're going to gain anything.
And it was
that.
so hard from, like, as a teenager in Argentina, honestly, there was like almost no conversation to speak with people about.
Wow.
Because when it came to entertainment and things you enjoy, it was like you were clueless what everyone else was into. Then when it came to relationships, a lot of talks about just sex and playing around in school or with whoever. And then it was like, okay, not exactly what we are into right now. Like, how can we interact? So I started to crave actually friendships that we could speak the same language. Like, we were speaking Spanish, but it sounded like foreign. So when it comes to interracial marriage, I so many times think that even in language, it's speaking things that you understand each other and that you have similar interests. That's so important because the rest you can be like speaking and the other person doesn't understand. Like, my experience is not theirs. Theirs is not mine. So that was really like a little disconnected. But later on, especially coming to college, which was mission-minded, all over the world, people with similar, that was like so refreshing and so fulfilling. But yeah, that was kind of the music entertainment part growing up.
Wow.
So I know you had asked a question and we added the music component to it, but how all of these differences, how it impacted our marriage.
How do you see it?
Definitely in my core values, those were very important ones. And I know I had written very clearly that I wanted to form a family with someone that had similar values in that. Like, I was open to movies, but not just any movie. I was open to music and different kinds, but not everything. There had to be certain guidelines that we would live by in our family. So, in our relationship, I think this aspect was just something that we had to talk through and come to agreement how we wanted our family now to be.
Yeah.
So, maybe we grew up with different things, but how we envision our family. And I know for me this was important, entertainment. Like, what type of things would we be okay watching or listening in the home or for our kids. And so we had to talk about it.
Yeah, I remember when you were asking me about this in the beginning stages of our relationship, that if I was okay with having TV in the house. I was like, yeah, why not have a TV in the house? And then you're like, you're okay with having TV in the house? Yeah, having TV in the house. Because I didn't realize you were asking about the cable connection. I thought you were just talking about having a TV in the house. I'm like, yes, that'll be great to have TV in the house to watch different stuff, including documentaries and stuff. But then later on, when you explained, I don't want to have TV in my house because of this, and this, and I don't want any type of movie or whatever to go on the television. And that's when I understood, okay, this is what you're referring to. No, that is not what I was talking about. I was talking about the TV itself. I wasn't talking about the cable connection. Now, I honestly don't even know if TV comes with some type of cable connection or not. I have no idea.
I think
But
it has to be paid. But yeah, there is a difference. You can have the furniture part of it to watch what you choose, or YouTube is like a big computer, or it can be connected and then you have all the ads and all the promotions and all of that vibe that comes with cable type of TV connection that I never wanted in my home.
And I also understood that, and it made sense because of the type of lifestyle we wanted to have. We want to have a lifestyle where we are more outdoorsy, and if and when we have children, by God's grace, we don't want them to be glued to television or phone or computer, but they need to go out and play, and how it used to be when we were younger, right? So that they can really enjoy nature, they can really learn about a whole lot of things than just be glued to a screen. And so I guess that was one of the things that was very clear from your side, which helped me when you explained it. It helped me to understand where you were coming from, and also to share my part that, yeah, that is totally fine. And I think that is also something people need to have in their relationships, is that being open. If I want to have television and you don't want to have television in the house, it is okay to express both. And if that is a non-negotiable for you and it is a non-negotiable for me, we can part ways and move on. Instead of me trying to be like, oh, no, I don't want television. But then we have something, I lie to you, to your face. And then after we get married and have a television, that's going to be a disaster, and that could lead to divorce because someone lied.
Yeah, no, definitely it's important to be super open what we're okay with, it's a non-negotiable, because in the process of a relationship, that's when you talk about all those important things, and we had to go through it, and from different things, what are things you're okay with listening. Definitely we were clear. We didn't want rock. We didn't want any of this, nonsense type of music that really is not bringing Christ and the right spirit into our home, because we knew we wanted to have a Christian family that uplifts the principles that we want to grow into and not lead us astray.
And also everything has become sexualized these days. Everything has become more demonized too. Instead of before, it used to be about how a guy would appreciate a woman and how a woman would appreciate a guy, how the beautiful the nature is, and all of those things have changed. It's like it has gone downhill right now. It's all about sexual stuff, it's all about money, it's all about demonizing, and we don't want to have that type of
Definitely
family.
not.
And because that is one of the ways that our minds is going to be influenced, and if it is going to be influenced, and we start acting out the thing that we watch.
And then for other things that maybe were not right or wrong, but just styles, let's say you like to listen to things loudly all the time, or I like to listen to this music, but the other person, you don't feel so comfortable because that's not your kind, and it's just not. We agreed that we can listen to things by ourselves. If both feel comfortable, we will listen loudly in the home, like on speaker, whatever. But if not, we can still enjoy it privately.
Yeah.
And not bother the other person.
Everyone has their individuality. Like some things I would like to listen, she's really not interested in at all. In that case, I don't have to force her to listen to it. I can just listen to it myself. I can put my headset on and do the same thing. And the same goes with her as well. If there is something that she wants to watch or listen to, and I'm not interested in it, she can do the same thing too. She can put it in her ears and not having to worry that I have to be part of it. There is a beauty in it, though. There is a beauty in it that we have a lot of similarities as well as a lot of differences. And that's the beauty of it, right? I don't have to force her in everything. We have to be the same, and she doesn't have to force me in everything. We have to be the same. Wherever we have same interests, same vision, we can come together. And when we don't have it, as long as it is within our principles, we are okay to do our own individual thing. And I think that is very important for people that are trying to have relationships to look for. Be open and honest with the other person, and share what you agree and what you don't agree with, where your values are. The other person might be interested in watching movies all day long. No one is to tell them you are wrong and you have to change, only then I have to come into the relationship. No. If the other person wants to watch the whole movie all day long, they can do it. That is their freedom. It's not necessarily helpful, but it's their freedom.
And if the other person doesn't feel comfortable with that, then that's not the person for you.
Exactly.
You don't have to make the other person feel guilty or try to change them, but both clearly put things on the table. You can express why you don't feel comfortable with something, and if the other person is open to learn, to understand, to adjust, then you can make it work or not. But a lot of relationships don't work because there's major differences in this area, actually.
Yeah, and they don't talk about it openly before saying I do. They think that they know someone. They think that they have analyzed and know everything about the other person. And many times they get into a rude awakening where they're like, what did I marry into? This is something that we did. We spoke about our differences, we spoke about our backgrounds, we spoke about what works and what won't work, and we came to that conclusion as to who is going to sacrifice or who is going to compromise, or is it something better it is to sacrifice, And that is something we made decision on, and here we are being married and doing a podcast on Happily Ever After.
Yeah, so we think it's very, very important to not only interracial marriage, the uniqueness of that, but as a individual, know what does God want for your family? What do you envision as a parent? Even if you don't have kids, thinking about what you want for your kids help you to think what you truly want for life.
True.
And so it helps you to envision the life you want to form together and not idealize.
Idealize, yeah.
Like, we're just going to make it work. But how are we going to make it work? And so we are blessed to be united in same vision and to respect each other's peculiar ways as well of doing things and learning from each other, but definitely enjoying recreation out together and entertainment that we feel is not just entertaining
whatever.
anything, but keeping in mind what are things we allowed into our life to pass our time on, because entertaining is basically what are you spending your time on. So that is things that is in some way in educational, uplifting, relaxing, and the list goes on. So we hope to see you in the next episode, but thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.